back to the piano. My name is Parker Taft, and today is day 29. Surprisingly, I haven't covered this topic before, but I will be today. Today we're talking about the importance of reading. As an avid reader myself, this may seem slightly self-serving, but I do think that reading and books are an important part of both our own personal self-development, our culture, our knowledge, and just being a well-rounded person in general. So, let us begin. So, why is reading important? Isn't that stuff that, old people do, or stuff that I'm forced to do in English class, read all those boring books by old or dead people that really don't make a lot of sense? Well, reading the books in your English class or your social studies class, they really don't give you the joy of reading because you're forced to read them. And they're not necessarily the best books, but they're the books that are in the curriculum. Once you start reading stuff that you like or are interested in, you'll find a change of attitude. So, it is important for success in school and in the workplace. Every class and test you take and job you have will involve some form of reading. The better you are, the faster and more accurately you can respond and solve problems in an articulate manner. Basically, the more you read, it doesn't matter what you read, you become a better reader. And if you read self-development books or nonfiction books that may interest you, they can help you improve certain skills as part of your self-development by giving you tips, tricks, plans, and personal stories to both inspire you and to give you lessons. If you really want to read for self-development, then I advise looking into self-development books and nonfiction books. Reading fiction, while enjoyable and can help you increase reading, memory, retention, and can just be fun all around, it's not helpful when you're trying to find moral lessons and self-development unless you go into some of the classics. Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, and Innocents Abroad. So, books can take you to other worlds and allow you to learn and experience a wider diversity of things than you ever could experience in your own short life. As the great author George R.R. Martin said, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives but one. Only one." Which is surprisingly true. By reading books, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you can be exposed to so many different ideas and thoughts, feelings, experiences, and lessons than if you never read at all. So, this is why it's important. So, for all of our practical people out there, what are the immediate benefits to moi? So, it can improve your vocabulary and your comprehension. It helps develop your memory, and it increases your critical thinking skills. Improves results at school, whether that be high school or college. Reading in general can help you improve both your test scores, your grades in classes, and your overall knowledge and competency in a variety of subjects. It expands your base knowledge. Now, as a avid rapid recaller, aka Team Jeopardy, I've gotten a lot of my trivia knowledge from reading books. So, expanding your knowledge, it can be great for trivia night at your high school or local club. It helps build confidence and helps you to socialize. Books are best when shared with other people. I love talking to my friends about different books and topics that I found in books, and I find it smooths over conversation because you sound more intelligent, and you have a wider array of knowledge to draw upon, both to commiserate in bad times and commiserate and support in bad times, and to talk, discuss, debate, and joyfully rejoice in during the good times. It broadens one's horizons, teaches me to dream bigger and farther. My reading is actually what made me want to pursue my eventual goal of becoming President of the United States. So, just an idea for all of you out there. And then lastly, readers are leaders. Everyone from Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett, presidents from Lincoln to Obama, Winston Churchill, Eleanor Roosevelt, Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, Susan B. Anthony, you name it, most of the leaders in this world were readers. They may not have been when they were in high school or even college, but they developed the lifelong reading habit and the process that reading is beneficial to one's own knowledge and one's own self-development. So all these uber successful people read. They must be getting something right if, of them have been seeing these great successes and have these had these wonderful lives and experiences. In the cases of Warren Buffett and Lincoln, they blame their entire success, their entire development on reading and continuing to read. Warren Buffett sets aside 2 to 3 hours of reading a day. Now, I'm not saying you should do that. I'd say just start with 10, 15 minutes on a book that you genuinely enjoy or are interested in. And, get some technology mixed up in there, but get a tablet. I'm sure everyone has a tablet. So find a free book on your tablet that you're interested in and read through it. Get Kindle or what is it, the Amazon ebooks or something like that. So there's a great diversity of ways you can start reading. So moving on, tips on how to get started. Well, as always, the best thing to do is and creating a habit is schedule it in. Set specific times to read. So that's our first piece of advice. Set specific times to read. 2, this is my one I personally follow, and have followed since 3rd grade with Mrs. Moore's 3rd grade class. We always had a free reading book in that class. And I think we did well over a dozen book reports on those books, but it was enjoyable and it inspired my love of reading. And she always said that you always carry a book on you. And I kept that all the way through elementary, middle school, and into high school. It was actually quite surprising because my friends would comment saying, Parker, why don't you just, download it on your phone? Or why do you still carry a free reading book if you're so busy? Because I was in all sorts of extracurricular clubs, and you'd see me hobbling down the hallway with, all these textbooks in my hand for classes, and on top of those textbooks would be my free reading book. And I refused to give it up. Until the day I graduated, I refused to give up my free reading book, which I would carry with me at all times. And I found it really helped build my habit. Make a list of books to read. Now, this was recommended in one of the articles I read for researching this video. Personally, I don't like that idea because it makes you think that you have like a to-do list. I would summarize like just a few books that I would like to read or want to read, but I wouldn't have a to-read list only because it puts like undue stress on you. Like, I have to finish this book so I can read the next one, so I can read the next one. And I just think that takes the joy out of reading. So instead, just like have an idea of what books you want to read or buy, but don't create like a 200 or 300 long reading lists. It's too reminiscent to me of English class. Not saying English class is necessarily bad, but I think that the whole mandatory reading list thing is not good for inspiring the joy of reading in people. Create a quiet place for reading. Some people think that reading, they can read anywhere. And some people can. Some people can read on a subway train. Some people can read in noisy crowds, but most of us can't. So I advise setting aside a quiet place that you read during the day. So say you set your specific time for reading as 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So what place is quiet in your home or your neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that you can go and read for just half an hour? And once you think of that place, it has to be, comfortable. You have to be comfortable sitting there and reading and being there. Just go and try it out. Sit, and I advise experimenting and seeing what you find more comfortable. Personally, I can't read laying down. I have to read either sitting or standing. It's not something I'm capable of doing. I must emphasize this point, and this is the one point that I must stress in this video, and I hope you take away from it. Read books you actually enjoy. Just because you read War and Peace doesn't make you any better if you don't enjoy the book and if you don't fully immerse yourself in it. It isn't like it's a contest or something you have to do. You're trying to do this for enjoyment. And feel free to quit the ones that you don't like. I've done this a couple of times where I found books that I've absolutely despised. It's like, this is really stupid. So I just close it up, set it down, and move on to another book. So it doesn't become a chore for you to read it. It's something that you enjoy doing. So you shouldn't force yourself to read a book that you're not enjoying just to finish it for finishing its sake. You're not trying to do this to impress anyone. You're merely trying to do this to as this form of relaxation for yourself, something for you to enjoy while also improving and learning. So, change your mindset. Try to switch your mindset from it's a chore or something you have to do to something that you enjoy to do, because you'll find that you get more out of the books, as well as the fact that it just becomes more natural to you. So, by building the habit, I think you'll change your mindset. But a few tips is, once you start feeling like you're getting distracted or bored, close the book, put it down, and that you did your reading for the day. Even if you've only read a handful of pages, don't feel obligated that you have to spend hours and hours reading there. Everyone reads and digests stuff at their own pace. So if you find that your mind is wandering very often, or you've had to reread the same page 3 or 4 times, then take a break, set it down, and come back to it later. I'm equally guilty of this, reading multiple books at the same time. Now, this can get quite confusing and maybe advanced for some people, but if you find that you have like a lot of reading that you want to get done, or just in general, that you have a desire to read multiple different books, or you're getting bored with one book, so you pick up another. It helps keep it enjoyable and spices it up, so it's not like you're reading the same thing over and over again. Me, while I prefer linear reading, like reading one book in succession after the other, I can understand when people getting into it can get kind of boring. So mixing it up and reading maybe a chapter from this and a chapter from this every other day, while could get confusing and hard to keep track, especially if it's fiction, it could be enjoyable and diversify both your tastes and keep your mind active while reading. So it was a piece of advice recommended to me, and so I leave it here. And then skim over the boring sections. This is more for nonfiction and self-development, which I have to agree, there are plenty of boring sections or unnecessary exposition. But so just skim over it, and you'll learn as you get into the habit of reading, recognizing what is important and what isn't. And different things are important to different people. So if you see something that's important, like in the passage, it doesn't necessarily have to be important in the author's sense. Just, write it down, jot a note, or stop and read it more closely. Just a few pieces of advice. So that's all for today. Here are my sources and further reading. As always, I will post them down in the description below. We are coming up on our last day, which will be tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our last day of our 30-day challenge. It's hard to believe. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did so, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click that bell button for notifications. I look forward to reading your comments, and I will see you all next time. This is the PNN Broadcast, signing off.